Hello, hackers burning the midnight oil. It is I, Jex, and Garr, and this is It Takes a Village to Learn. People are probably still going through credits right now. At some point, I feel like, man, I hate doing that to people. I need to figure out a better way to do it. Ani, what's up?
Ani, nice for the sub. Up? Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ani.
Pause that.
Oh man, I'm happy to be back. Wow. What's good? A lot's good. There is a lot coming up for everybody, especially as we come into good old Defcon.
Yeah.
I hope everybody's ready for that. That's gonna be great.
I can't believe it's next week. I know we were talking about that a little bit in the pre-stream. It's crazy that how fast this year's gone by, but the fact that next week is Defcon is just nuts.
Yeah, I honestly have been planning for that for 3 months now, and it just feels like it's not real. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ani, I will be there for sure.
Oh my, yeah. Speaking of which, I want to do some quick announcements before we head into the good stuff today. What we are learning today, first off, just so everybody knows, we are going to be going through the foundations of XSS, which will be done by Garr. Garr is going to basically showcase what from the foundational level, what you should know, the differences between like stored and reflected, and maybe like once you get somewhere, what if it doesn't work? What if you need to find a different way to go about it? He will go through all of that with you. I don't want to get ahead of myself, Garr, because I don't want to go past the weeds. But yeah, but before we get into that, there's a couple of the announcements, like I said. One, if everybody has not already seen, we just released our first junior path called the CJCA, or the HTB CJCA. My marketing team's going to come back at me with knives if I don't do that correctly. But I want to say that at some point we will be going through all of the 0-tier modules of that through the learn process. I am excited to do those on stream. But more than anything, I just think it's a really rad way to go about like learning, especially since we're not isolating the information that you are supposed to be learning about security and not skipping through fundamental stuff. So there is that. That is the only time I will mention that. Additionally, we are going to be doing a live stream at Defcon. Garr and I are from our booth.
Yeah.
The quality might not be the best because we have to use the Defcon Wi-Fi, but that's okay. Not to knock the Defcon Wi-Fi. It's going to be really fun to set that up. But yeah, your thoughts on that, Garr? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I think I haven't done, have I not done? Yeah, I don't think I've ever done like an IRL stream. I know it's going to be like a hybrid of IRL and like setup and all that, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I love Defcon every year. It'll be nice to kind of have some people be able to see, just feel the vibes. Obviously, Defcon's photo policies are very specific, so you're not going to be able to go through the whole thing, but you'll be able to at least kind of feel the vibes. People will come up and jump on, and I think it'll be a good time. It'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the like first time chatters that I see in here, what's up? Hikari, what's up? Aries,
Hikari,
thank you and hit 'em ups in here. What's up? What's up, big dog? I'm so excited to be able to actually have some way for people to join in on the Defcon festivities while we are out there sweating, because it's going to be like 103.
It's going to be hot. Yeah, it's going to be hot. 109, I think, one day, and then that's just in the air. It's going to be even hotter in vehicles, for sure. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun. Yeah.
So without further ado, those are kind of the only announcements that I really have for now. If I think of any, I'll bring them towards the end. But we want to get cooking as fast as possible here because your time is valuable. So Emma, can you bring us to the bigger screen?
Sweet.
I love this. I need to like really get some sick transitions once we get out of Streamlabs.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be cool to kind of see the different transitions and just the different, different little perks of using some of the other software. But it'll be fun in general. I think it'll be good.
Yeah,
I just want to catch
absolutely.
up on
And
chat before we get rolling. I'm
yeah,
just looking
please
at
do.
making sure. It's cool. I like to see got some people on YouTube as well too. Thanks y'all for stopping by.
Yeah,
A
Richie
lot of
Rose, thank you.
familiar faces. Yeah. Neospring, good to see you. Fishbone, you called that Fishbone earlier. Yeah, it's good to see y'all.
Yeah. Thank you for joining
Yeah.
us today. It feels like a very sleek, very straightforward lesson. So I'm happy to to really dig into that. But before I do, also shout out to Emma for running this from behind the scenes. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for putting in your time. And from here, I'm just kind of gonna go silent, and you let me know when you feel like you've hit a natural place for chat to ask questions and us to just sort of like bring it all in.
Sounds good to me. Before we kind of get into the weeds of as kind of people are rolling in, you mentioned Defcon. I do want to kind of propose a question to the chat. Is anybody going to Defcon or anybody going to B-Sides or any of the Hacker Summer Camp at all? Just kind of curious to see. I know we got a couple people in here. I don't know. Anybody going to Defcon for sure? Confirmed? Not confirmed?
A yam. Ani,
nice. Sweet. Good stuff.
Does anybody not know what DEFCON is?
Oh, good question.
That's also a fundamental one. I feel like it's one of the ones that cons that are, is more talked about out there. So be curious if anybody hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Especially like those newer to the hacking community for sure. I could see that being something that isn't always covered. I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like there's different types of people that kind of get exposed to the hacking community. I feel like there's so many different paths to get in. I feel like some people see a lot of the more like glamorous side of things and hear about DEF CON first versus some people just, just kind of part of the college path and they go that route and they don't see as much of that side. So I'm curious. Seems like for the most part, yeah.
I heard about DEF CON when I was in like a junior college, and I waited for like 8 years before I could like get the money to go out there. Garr injects. Hey, what's up, Chad?
Oh, hey, Chad. Good to see you.
Chad knows about the plan. We're not going to go into the plan yet. There is a plan.
Oh, what? Okay.
It is a hidden agenda.
Okay. I'm excited to hear. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that. Is it DEF CON related? Can I at least know that?
I sent you a very poor illustration of the plan on Discord. Maybe someday we'll get to like talk about it. Yeah.
Yes,
there are other legitimate plans.
I do like the plan. A foot is that I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chad, are you coming out? You going to DEF CON, Chad? Don't have to leak if you're not feeling comfy about it, but it actually that's interesting. I'm curious. I'm very curious. I'll curb my to DEF CON. Heck yeah. Well, I'm super stoked to see you for sure. It'll be a good time.
Nice.
It's always a good time.
See, what I'm very proud of is that, speaking of InfoSec streams, thank you, Chad, is that it has been maybe 30 days since we have done our last stream. So we are now back on the InfoSec streams leaderboard, because after 30 days, I found out, after 30 days, you get kicked off.
Oh yeah,
we got to stream that
out for sure. Yeah, I've been kicked off for months. So, you see that from YouTube chat? DEng
crossing. Oh man, I really need to move this to a closer.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the chat the ideal chat set up for sure. I figure give some time, let people kind of flow in, and then we can kind of get into the weeds. But all the way from South Sudan. That's
nice.
That's fire. That's sick. Heck yeah. Have you been before? Is it your first time or? Hey, you've been before.
Yeah.
I've been doing good, Chad. But life's been crazy. We'll definitely have to get into it for sure one of these days. We'll have to catch up. There's a lot to talk about for sure. But, net positive, net good, doing good.
Yep.
A little under the weather from last couple of days, but I'm actually hanging in there, doing pretty good. How about you, man? How you been?
I feel like DEF CON is probably one of my favorite cultural events, because you do have a lot of people coming out from everywhere.
Oh, that's
Badge
a good
hacking challenge
question.
again this year?
I think
Oh,
we're
somebody
not we're
was.
not on badge or sorry badge. Jeez. We're not on like electronic badge this year. I know they stagger it every year, so I think it's just going to be normal plastic badge. I'm guessing.
Yeah, last year's badge was I'm so happy that that was the year I attended because they
It was
basically
fire.
just gave like a basically just gave you a Game Boy.
Yeah.
I by the end of the day, Dark, one of the coworkers here at Hack the Box, had already put like Crystal version on it, and I was just like, "Dang, son, you have it? Do you have it in your room? Yeah, grab it, get it."
All right. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he can't see, but I have the
Oh
little
yeah.
press badge.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, it's
Oh
fell
yeah.
off. My buttons fell off too. I just.
But yeah, no, they had this like cat case over it too.
So sick.
I can't go back there. There's nothing behind this chat. It's just emptiness. I'm considering my current work situation a great motivator for finding a new position, so I'm choosing to be good. Got it. I have a press badge. Are you getting one
I
this
feel
year?
you, Chad.
It probably would have been the smart move.
I am also. I feel you. I don't know exactly the situation, but I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm in a somewhat similar for sure. So yeah, I feel you. I'm excited to catch up for sure. I did register for a press badge this year and I got the approval. So yeah, we're good.
Sick. Dennis from Nairobi, thank you for joining us today. We're happy to get into the hacking here soon. Jex, you can likely get one on the fly, honestly. I probably need to do it because they're making us, not making us, but like we are doing a little sort of challenge for some of the people, a little ARG challenge for people who are attending Defcon. So debating whether or not to bring hardware hacking goodies. Always do it. But TSA and TSA and apparently some of the hotels, they don't like that. Last year they went through some
I forgot
couple
about
different
that.
hotels and like
I don't remember
went
which
through
hotel
people's
it was.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have. I don't want to name drop. I don't remember exactly. I don't want to miss name drop. But yeah, that did happen. So just be cognizant of where you're staying. I will also say DEFCON. DEFCON's crazy because it's one of those things where it's like you go and you might not have any plans. You just kind of go and you're like, all right, I'll see how it is. And then you just get engrossed in so many different activities that you want to do. And like every year, I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought a laptop. Definitely, bringing some type of laptop, I think is definitely worth because you can participate in certain challenges. And I brought hardware stuff last year, and I was glad I did, for sure. I was definitely glad I did. But it depends on, I guess, if it's your first time, it's not your first time. You can't really go wrong. Worst case, your hardware hacking goodies just stay with some dust on them, or you could use them if you need. As long as you're in a good place where, it's gonna get through TSA, you don't have to worry about the place, the hotel. So
yeah, and if you're curious about what it's like as a first time goer of DEF CON, there are a bunch of people out there who have really good videos. I think Tiberius has a video. I think they just released a new one with him and
Tyler
Ramsby from Hack Smarter.
Hack Smarter, yeah, that's cool.
With shout out to Tyler
this year too. Yeah, I haven't met Tyler, so I'll have to go meet him this year. That'd be cool.
Actually, depending on the challenges this year from our booth, he might be meeting us.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see. So
sick.
he might not even have to do anything. But so again, for people who are just joining us, we are going to be learning about XSS, which is on the OWASP top 10 as far as like web vulnerabilities. Garr has made it clear to me that it is a injection. It has been moved over to the injection-based vulnerabilities, which would make sense. But I'm going to let him kind of explain a little bit more into what that means.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the OWASP top 10 here so we can see. Yeah, we can go ahead and get rolling. Might as well. Good to see you. So just, grain of salt for those that are going through web interviews. OWASP top 10 this is going to be kind of a little bit of preamble. OWASP top 10 sometimes comes up, sometimes doesn't. Like, I'm not always the biggest fan of OWASP top 10 questioning, if I'm being honest with you, which I try to be with y'all. Just because, if I don't know a specific number or hierarchy of which is where during an interview with nerves, but I can hack the site. I can do the pen test. I can write the report. I can speak to clients. I don't know. Anyway, that being said, 2021, we had the latest update to the OWASP top 10. And as you can see up top, there, OWASP Top 10 2025 is going to be releasing soon. And And so I won't dive into too in the weeds around what the OWASP top 10 is, because it's somewhat of a controversial topic. Our friend Tiberius has made a video on it, but in this case, cross-site
Really?
scripting, which was he did, which is number 7, got pushed into number 3 under injection. And honestly, I think that was a good move, and we'll talk about that in a second. But just know that cross-site scripting is still part of the OWASP top 10. It's a subcategory of A3, which is injection, because it's an injection type vulnerability. And so if any questions about that, hopefully will be answered as we kind of move forward. But yeah, let's jump in. Let me see if I can pivot screens. 4P, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yes, so okay. Let's just do it. Cross-site scripting. So from Hack the Box, Hack the Box's module I think is really, really well done, really solid. It's an Academy module. It's a tier 2 module, so we're not going to be diving into the weeds with it. But I definitely recommend checking it out, if you have access to it, because it'll dive into a lot of the topics that we're going to cover today. Intro to XSS, the different types of XSS, and then what you can do with it. But what we're going to do is, instead of using the module itself, what we'll do is we'll use a box called Headless. So Headless is a retired machine, easy machine, Linux machine. We're not going to finish the box. The whole purpose of today's stream is to try to encourage conversation and cover cross-site scripting at a very digestible level. Full transparency, for me, when I was first getting into web hacking, cross-site scripting is one of those vulnerabilities that I thought I understood, but I had a really crazy awakening moment where I realized, wait, I don't think I understand this as well as I thought I did. And it took me kind of relearning XSS from different perspectives and then running into those instances with mentors where I asked them a question, and then I realized, whoa, this question is really showing that I have no idea what XSS is. And so we're going to try to avoid that by me explaining this in a way that kind of changes your perspective and how you think of cross-site scripting. So I have the box loaded up. It's on this IP here on port 5000, and you have this kind of classic support page. And so if I actually go to web root here, you see it's a website, and it's still under construction, and you can ask questions to the server. And I can just see there's this form here. Let me go ahead and make sure I add this target to scope real quick. And while we're doing that, let me pop up here, add to scope. Okay, make sure everything's looking good. Cool. Okay, so we have the server here. So before we dive into the actual web server, we see that there's this form here. Whenever we're testing for vulnerabilities, the big question is okay, how do I know when to test for something like that? Well, the first thing that's going to be important is covering exactly what cross-site scripting is. Now, I think even the module description kind of talks pretty good at a high level about the idea of executing arbitrary JavaScript code within the target's browser, stuff like that. But here's how I want you to think about this, okay? The idea of cross-site scripting at a high level is just the ability to inject JavaScript generally into a victim user's browser, leveraging the web application. So the whole goal of cross-site scripting is to inject client understood code, so code that a client understands, into a victim client. That's all it is. But you're leveraging the web application. So all 3 of those pieces are really important. You're injecting code that you want to run on a user's browser, and it's JavaScript, but it leverages the application. So the application is the one that delivers that JavaScript to the victim user, and that's important because JavaScript that runs within the context of an application has higher privilege than JavaScript that just runs in a raw HTML file, right? If it's running within the context of the application, now that JavaScript has the ability to access things like cookies that are associated with that application, or local storage and tokens that are saved in local storage or session storage. It's able to access different parts of that web server, parts of that application, because the code is running within the context of the application. There's no question about same origin policy. You don't have to worry about the concepts of origin or concepts of really anything, because that code, it looks like, is coming from the application. And so the JavaScript that executes has higher privilege or access to sensitive things like cookies. So at a high level, again, quick recap, cross-site scripting is a vulnerability that allows for an attacker to inject, we'll just say JavaScript, into a victim user's browser, leveraging the application. That's why I like that it's an injection vulnerability. So good pause there. Any checks, thoughts, or any questions from anybody?
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. So, and also why they would make that an injection-based attack, especially once we dig into the attack itself and where input lies. So
Yeah. For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think that the biggest thing for me that I lost or I didn't understand, everybody talks about it. It's an attack against the user. And you kind of forget that sometimes, but it's always an attack against a user. And so when you're injecting that JavaScript and the user is the victim, it's not attacking, well, in traditional instances of cross-site scripting, it's not attacking a server. There are instances where XSS technically bleeds into some weird realms, but if you think about traditional reflected, stored cross-site scripting, we're just talking about attacking other users leveraging the application. Theo, great question. First of all, fix it. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Theo asked a good question, which is, does the web application need to be written in JavaScript? No, it does not. The application can be written in PHP. The application can be written in Python, because remember, we're attacking the client. We're not attacking the server right now. We're attacking the client. The client always understands JavaScript, like as far as browsers at least. So the browser will always understand JavaScript. So what you're doing is the application is handling that user input incorrectly when it displays it back to the user. So in this raw response, it will show up as exactly whatever the victim, or exactly whatever the attacker injected. And so the attacker can inject like a script tag, and it contains whatever arbitrary JavaScript it wants, and the browser will look at it and see it as this. It will see it as, oh, this is code that needs to be executed. It's JavaScript code that is intended to be executed, that came from the server, so we'll trust it. And so it runs it. So yeah, so it doesn't have to be written in JavaScript. The application can be written in any language. It just has to, the malicious payload has to be returned to the victim user's browser in a way where the browser trusts it and thinks it is something that should be executed. Hopefully that makes sense.
Good on my end.
Sick. Cool. Great question.
Also, shout out to, let me see, Abraham from, I think you're out in Mali. I'm sorry. I'm trying to see from the side of my screen. I am losing my sight. But other than that, what's more important is that now I can see what an XSS is. I'm sorry, that's horrible.
No, you're good. You can see clearly now that the rain is gone. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. So, I mean, so think about that. Obviously, you want to keep that in the back of your mind as we kind of navigate towards different types, right? Different types of cross-site scripting, and where we're going to look for cross-site scripting. But let's just go ahead and talk about testing for cross-site scripting first, and then we'll dive into the different types, right? So let's say we have a contact form, right? And so let's go ahead and just do a normal test first, test last, Garr at HTB 555. This is my message, smiley face. You like to use equal signs. All right, so we'll go ahead and send that. And we send it, and the response, nothing happens. Nothing is returned to us. I got nothing here, right? And so let's say, you're testing as a web application hacker and you don't really know like necessarily what you're testing for. Let's do this so we don't get anybody angry. We'll do that. We'll do script.
Quick shout out, Bearded IT Dad. Thank you for joining us from YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Hey, good to see you. I almost said hot. 555. And so we'll try these things in different areas, see if there's validation of like different types of data. Like, does it actually validate whether or not it's an email? Does it actually validate whether or not it's a phone number? Stuff like that, right? We'll send it, and this does. Cool. So we could put that tech maybe here. I doubt it. So we'll just go ahead and we'll delete that for now. This client-side control here we could probably bypass later. We'll try something like this, and boom. We immediately see that it says hacking attempt detected. So there's some type of filter, or it's looking at our input, and it's saying, okay, we don't want certain things in. There's certain things in there that are triggering this hacking attempt, right? And so as we're testing for cross-site scripting, one methodology I want you to always have in your head is you want to test for cross-site scripting anywhere where your user input is reflected. So it might be in a search box. If I search for cookies or something like that in some type of e-commerce application, and it returns the word cookies, like that's an instance where I want to test for cross-site scripting. And generally you could do a payload like script alert script, right? Or in theory, I know nowadays print is really the go-to. Ideally, if you watch, I think Live Overflow had a video on it, but print is what he recommends. You can do something like script alert script, and there's a lot of different payloads you can use as far as like what would check or what would actually trigger some type of execution of JavaScript. My go-to isn't really script alert script. If I actually go into my go-to, it's going to be something different. But I digress. Whenever you see reflection of input, you always want to check for something like cross-site scripting, where when I say reflection of input, where your user input is sent to the application and then somewhere eventually returned by the application, whether it be returned immediately in the response or it's saved to the database and then eventually returned, like your username, for example. If my username's Garr, it's going to always say, hello, Garr. Or when I post in a forum, it's going to say, Garr posted. Perfect instance or perfect place for you to check for something like cross-site scripting. But I want you to have that mentality in your head because it's anywhere user input is reflected. And this is a perfect example of whether or not where user input is reflected. What we could see is if I want to test this easier, I could send this to repeater. If I grab this request, throw it to repeater with Control R, I could send it here, and now I can see every time I could send this request, and I can easily modify the headers. We could see that the application isn't returning any of our form data that we filled out. It's only returning the actual headers. You could see the content type, accept encoding. So I could do something like this and say hello, and see if all the arbitrary headers are being returned. And I could search for hello to see if hello is there, and we can see that. I can right-click, show responsive browser. You can see hello is set with the value of 123, and I can show that here as well too. And we can see, okay, hello is set with the value of 123. And so this is a perfect example of I want to check this for cross-site scripting. Now, there's two different types that we're going to talk about when it comes to cross-site scripting today, at least. There's three main types that come up whenever you're interviewing for cross-site scripting, but we're going to talk about two different types. Before we dive into that, any thoughts, questions? We doing okay so far?
Nope. I'm excited to dig into this. And I think that based off of, the how and where, that was like, is that typically the only place that you will find it is any place that you can do user input, or is there a way around that? I'm not asking for a full demo of it, but just a little curious about that because I feel like that's the thing that bugged me a little bit about XSS is that it reminded me a lot of like other vulnerabilities where you do injection style things. It's like you're accessing something entirely different. Is that like the place I should be looking? Period.
Yeah, so there has to be delivery of your payload to a victim. Like that's a key point. Like when you think about injection, there is the injection, like the injection step has to happen. And so as attackers, we only have the ability to control the inputs that we send to the server, right? We don't have control of the outputs. The outputs are all handled by server-side code. We don't have direct control. We have indirect control via our inputs. And so yes, when it comes to cross-site scripting, it's always going to be some input somewhere. It might be an input on one application that goes to a different application, like an admin panel, or it might be an input, like for example here, and then it's saved in logs and then returned elsewhere. But yeah, so it has to be some input that we inject in. Ideally, it's going to be in an input that we can immediately see reflected, but not always. Sometimes you'll never know when or where your input is actually stored and then eventually showed again. There was an interesting bug that happened with Tesla. Actually, Tesla had a really interesting one where if you named your car, your actual name of your car, an XSS payload, the researcher requested service. So they requested service for their car. And during the request for service, one of the employees pulled up the car and it popped on the actual service portal. And so if you just name it script alert script, you wouldn't know. An alert box pops up on their server, so you'd have to have an out-of-band confirmation, out-of-band call. It's considered blind XSS. But yeah, and so yeah, it's anywhere you have control of the input for sure.
Okay, and just a couple of updates because this is the first time we're really using YouTube to stream too. So I answer a couple of things over there. The Bearded IT Dad, hello, you guys. Any of you going to the con next week? Yeah, we're going to be there, and I think there's a good amount of the people who are over on Twitch who are going to be there too. So thank you for asking that. Noy says I like using Fuff and Mr. Flag with the fuzzing folder in sec lists. Thank you for updating that. I love when there's other people in the other chats who are giving, their tips. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. And Roma Puma, any chance this VOD gets posted somewhere? Yes, it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel, along with a hypercut of what we are learning right now. that is kind of like a 8-minute short form video that we like to put together just to summarize everything. Even though I'm like one of those people who likes throwing on VODs, like the long form, and just falling asleep to them. So
Same.
yeah, it's really up to your discretion.
Yeah, and Bearded ITaV for sure. If you're gonna be out there, would love to say hey, that'd be cool. But yeah, Defcon for sure is gonna be popping next week. Of course, you have B-Sides and Black Hat also going on at the same time.
Yep.
So all the cons are gonna be popping. If you're coming out to Vegas, definitely stay hydrated. It's gonna be really, really hot. But enjoy the time. You know, I really hope that y'all have a good time at Defcon. Defcon's always an awesome time. Definitely make it yours for sure. But if you're coming out, if anybody's coming out to Defcon, definitely would love to say hey. And if it would be cool. Yeah. I hope you enjoy the time for sure.
Definitely one of those people who, if you're out there and you see, like, I think that might go for both of us, but if you just see us out there, just say what's up. It'd be great to chat with you and learn a little bit more about like your world and what you think about this channel. I ask it a lot on both our YouTube videos and here. We'd love to like continually work on this. Garr does a lot of time before coming into these, preparing for this. I'm mostly doing the back end stuff, like getting timestamps and editing videos and doing all that. But there is going to be more we'd like to do with these streams, and your participation and honestly your feedback helps us a lot. So not to get too 100%. Far out of it, because I know it's such a good point. We were about to talk about the different types of XSS, because this is a thing that like is like always threw me off when I was first learning about this. So I'm going to let you get to that unless you got anything else you wanted to say.
I think one more thing. Yeah, I mean, I'll be walking around DEF CON. I got the tattoos, so pretty easy to spot. I'm on the shorter side, so you'll see me. You'll get to see that when we do our actual Hack the Box stream, because I'm sure the frame you'll be able to see. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be out there for DEF CON. I'm just really, it's just always such a good time. So I'm super stoked for sure. And yeah, definitely any feedback on any of the streams, anything you want to see for sure. We're happy to. I mean, we're doing this for the community, really. And so any way that we can make this more community-based, community-driven, and beneficial, I'm totally down. So, yeah. Oh, fix it. I wish so, too. It'd be cool. It'd be super cool.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing our live stream there, so that you can be there with us in spirit. Fix it.
Exactly. Yes, for sure. Yeah. But yes, okay, cool. So any other thoughts, questions, feel free to throw them. We'll get to it, and then I'll jump to it during the next kind of pivot point. But we're talking about the different types of cross-site scripting. Let me got to change my music for this one. I can't. This is not the song for the different types. Imagine. There we go. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Different types of cross-site scripting. So there are 3 main types that you have to talk about when it comes to an interview. And what I'll do is I'll just talk through them real quick, and then we'll demonstrate them. I'll talk through them, take a quick break, and then demonstrate. So you have reflected, you have stored or persistent, and then you have DOM-based. Okay. So reflected cross-site scripting is where your payload is sent to the server, and then it's immediately returned in that exact response. So the request and response is the nature of HTTP. When I send a request, my request must contain the payload. The application handles my input, returns it back to me, unescaped, unsanitized, and it as is, and then the browser looks at it and says, oh, it's JavaScript, and it results in JavaScript execution. So reflected cross-site scripting, that payload must be included in that initial request for it to be returned in the response. And so for exploitation purposes, you have to make sure that you're able to force a victim to send that request with your payload in the request. That's just how it has to happen. And so if it's in a URL parameter like /search ? Let's do a quick one. If it looks something like this, and it looks like search, and it's like query equals something like this. We'll just do SVG onload equals alert 34, right? Something like this. And so this is easy. I can send this link, right click, copy URL, send this link to a victim user. The victim user clicks on it, sends this request with the search with the query string parameter of Q with SVG onload equals alert 34. The application handles it, returns that search or returns that payload back to the user. And that user immediately sees, the user's browser sees that payload unescaped. It results in JavaScript execution. GET request, simple. POST request is a little different. It requires the application or the request sent by the victim to be sent as a POST request. But what you could do is you can easily set up a malicious application that has a malicious form that when a victim user browses to it will automatically send that POST request containing this data and it will send it, or the victim user's browser will send it automatically. And so exploitation-wise, post versus get is exactly the same. The victim user clicks a link, it goes to either directly to the application with a GET request, or for a post request, it goes to the malicious server or malicious application first, then to the victim or the target application, and then results in JavaScript execution. And so from the victim's perspective, it's exactly the same. But it does require more user interaction, right? A victim user has to send your payload in the request for the server to return it unsafely. So from a exploitation-wise and a CVSS score severity-wise, it requires user interaction, more involved user interaction, maybe some social engineering or phishing. And so it takes a little bit more effort. So the severity is generally lower than something like persistent or stored. The difference between reflected and stored cross-site scripting is instead of the victim user sending the payload with the request, the attacker sends the payload to the server and the server stores it somewhere, usually in a database or something like that. And then there's an affected page that when a victim user browses to it, your payload's returned and it's not properly sanitized, it's not unescaped, and that JavaScript executes. So it affects more users. So instead of you having to send links to all your victims, everybody who views your, for example, let's say it's a video page and you post a comment and they don't handle your comment safely, every victim user that browses to that video page and sees that comment, that JavaScript will execute. So persistent XSS tends to be higher severity, easier to exploit, higher blast radius because you don't have to send specific links. And of course, you have DOM-based cross-site scripting, which is a little bit more tricky. It tends to be, I mean, really with DOM-based XSS is you basically have a payload that is sent either by the user itself or it could be stored. There's technically it could be reflected or stored, but basically your payload is injected and then it's executed later somewhere in the document object model in that code flow. There's some type of JavaScript that grabs that payload, whether it be within the URL itself or within something that's stored, handles it unsafely, and then it results in malicious JavaScript execution. DOM-based XSS is not something we're going to dive super heavy into right now because this example that we have pulled up is more both reflected and stored. But DOM XSS is a little bit more unique because it's a lot of client-side code that basically mishandles your payload and it results in malicious JavaScript execution. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes the server doesn't even see your payload in some instances. But DOM XSS is a little bit more tricky, and we'll have to do that, I think, at a different time. It'd be really cool to dive into the weeds of that. But from a DOM XSS perspective, the delivery of the payload tends to be pretty much the same. From a user's perspective, it's always the same. It's more about just actual discovery of the actual XSS, whereas where DOM-based discovery and remediation, I should say, is where DOM XSS differs a little bit more. So yeah, pretty Perfect. Good.
I think I follow along. It feels like the essence of it is a lot of like how eventually, if eventually it lands on the like the backend machine that it's like on, or it stays there, localized to there, or like how the user on the opposite end interacts with it, right? And that's the criticality of it, is that there can be a lot of engagement, which is why it's a high severity. It can be a high severity bug. Is that there's a lot of people who can potentially interact with it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I mean, the nature, I mean, the big difference between something like a stored or reflected versus DOM XSS is exploitation or remediation. But if you think about it, like with a reflected or stored, it tends to be the application tends to just display this JavaScript or this payload unescaped. Whereas with DOM-based XSS, there's some type of client-side code that fetches that. And then based off of how it's fetched, it's handled inappropriately, and then it results in malicious JavaScript execution. So really, the remediation is just a little bit different as far as where you'd want to actually fix that vulnerability. But yeah, for sure. For the most part, I think discovery tends to be the same. You kind of see how your input is returned, both by the server raw in the burp response, but also via the browser too. That's why you could see my browser, my setup is this way intentionally, because I want to be able to look and see, okay, how is the browser handling like my payload, but also how is the application server raw with no client-side interaction handling my payload? And that helps me narrow down what type of XSS are we dealing with. So
perfect.
Yeah. Oh,
chat, how you feeling?
So shout out TSEC guy. TSEC guy actually was somebody who actually got the a CBBH giveaway I did a long time ago. And just recently passed CBBH. So shout out to TSEC guy.
Congrats.
How do we take those? Huge shout out.
Nice.
Love that.
Also, Butler, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. First time chatter. T-Set guy.
Heck yeah.
CBBH.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff.
Huge.
It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I just realized that we're on talk shows and podcasts and not the normal
Oh, are we?
yeah, hard or like the technology section, but that's okay.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming to you live with our
I don't
SMB
think I've
sure
ever seen
mics
that.
and opinions.
That's true.
Let's
We
go
do,
HGB.
yeah.
Thank you, Abby. First time chatter. Thank you for joining
Appreciate
us.
that. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah.
Garr, you're doing a great job. I feel like I'm following
Thank you.
along here.
Good. Okay.
So we have
Anything? Any thoughts? Questions? Go ahead.
we have the sort of ones that you've referenced here. What
Mm-hmm.
are we diving into today? Like, what are we going to be learning how to like actively exploit?
Good question. Good question. So I think the first thing that we're going to talk about is, I mean, so in reality, we have an instance potentially of both, if I'm being honest. We have an instance of reflected and stored XSS. Only one of them is going to get us our initial foothold in some sets, or at least it will allow for us to actually escalate our current privilege, which is unauthenticated. And so
Okay.
we'll dive into that right now. I think it's a good call. So right now, we're looking at an instance where our user input that we send to the server is immediately reflected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this request again. I'm going to go back to the normal request that actually exists, which is right here. I'm going to send this request, and we're going to search for let's look for gzip deflate. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to be testing right here. Like I'm injecting in this hello header that I created, and so I'm going to be looking here every single time. So my favorite payload. Oh, I gave you a shout out. T-Set guy because the passing. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here, this is where I'm going to be injecting just to see how does the application handle my user input. I have two thoughts here though. Right now, I'm thinking this is reflected XSS, but like spoiler alert, this is a header. The ability to force a victim user to send a request with a specific header is non-trivial. It's very difficult to force a victim user to send a request with a specific header unless it's coming from the same origin. And so while it could be an instance of reflected XSS, exploitation of reflected XSS in this instance would be very difficult. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see if this is even vulnerable, right? And so what I like to do is I don't like to do script alert script. And reason being is when it comes to script alert script, I'll run into issues where if it is a headless application, or an application where it's like a single page web app and it makes calls to backend APIs, dynamically, the application might see script alert script and it might not execute. So I like to use event handlers. So event handlers are something like this. When something happens, run this. So on error, when there's an error condition, run this JavaScript. So in this instance, what this is doing is saying, hey, load this image with the source of A. So it'll load an image from /A, and if the image doesn't exist, it'll trigger an error condition, which is on error. So when it does error, run this JavaScript. In this case, it's alert 34. Now, let's see if it's actually. Yeah,
we got ads.
Oh, ads! No.
Yeah, I like to
time.
stop these, or at least I try to stop these whenever those go off, because you don't need to sub to be here. We want to make sure. Well, now that we're affiliate, we can't really stop these ads from happening, but want to make sure that everybody can continue the learning process as we go on. Okay, very short ad. Hey, they're gone. Cool, we're good.
They're gone already? Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, real quick, image. This is an image tag. It takes a source of A, so /A. It's going to not load because /A doesn't exist. There's no image there. And then it triggers an error. And then the event handler is going to say, okay, well, if there is an error, run this JavaScript. In this case, it's alert 34. Now, Burp does a great job at syntax highlighting. We'll see immediately that this is loaded as an image. Like if it wasn't loaded as an image, it tends to look like this more gray color. Don't always trust this. To be very clear, sometimes burp parsing isn't always there. But I'm immediately seeing my less thans are not being encoded, like HTML entity encoded. My greater thans are not being HTML entity encoded. Everything looks as is. So if I go ahead and show this response in browser, if it's vulnerable to reflected cross-site scripting, this should pop an alert box that says alert, or it says 34 here. And that is a perfect instance. We have the broken image tag, the event handler triggered, alert function called with the value of 34, and now we have a pop-up box that made 34. So perfect instance of reflected cross-site scripting. If I go ahead and press enter on this page, it's gone. And if I go ahead and type in normal stuff, right? This is normal stuff, right? If I type in normal stuff, we'll see that it just sends the support ticket. So this is a perfect example of reflected XSS in the sense that this request must contain this payload within a header for it to actually result in injected JavaScript execution. For a victim user to see this alert box, in this case, they would have to send this exact request. That's not what I want to do. So if I do show response in browser, again, let me make sure that's still, oh no, I went back to let's do that one more time. So if I go back here, do a quick image source equals A on air equals alert 34, send the request, and we'll show the response in browser. They have to send this every single time. And again, knowing HTML, knowing the HTTP protocol, forcing a victim user to send a header with my specific value is very difficult. It's non-trivial. XSS in a header is difficult. XSS in a cookie value is difficult if I don't know a simple way to write to cookies. This type of XSS is something that would be really difficult to target a user. But one thing that pops up in my head is, hold on, a report with your browser information has been sent to the administrators for investigation. So a part of me is thinking, well, is this a hacking attempt being saved somewhere? Is this potentially persistent or stored XSS, where if I inject this payload, a victim user will click it, will see it. It was an administrator is trying to parse this page to look at these logs. Will they see it, and will it result in the same level of injected JavaScript execution? And so let's try it. So there's only one way we can check, because if I'm an admin right now and I view this page, I get an alert box and I'm like, okay, I'll click OK. But I, as the attacker, will never see that. So what we need to do is we need to try to set up some type of out-of-band confirmation to determine whether or not this is actually vulnerable. So what we'll do is we'll set up a server. So I'm on the VPN right now. I'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, Control-Shift-P. If I ifconfig ton0, this is my ton0 IP right here. This is my hack the box IP on the VPN. So I can go ahead and set up a simple, let's do a netcat listener to keep it simple on 443. And we'll clear this so it's a little easier to see. I have my netcat listener, and let's move the listener so it's a little bit more friendly for not just the viewing experience, but for editing later. Let's do this.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Got you. Yeah, of course, always. Let's make sure, are we in the circles or are we good? Let's see. We're in the circles. We don't want that. Let's do this. Perfect. Okay. So we have our netcat listener that's right above the browser. And we'll try a different payload. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a payload that, let's go ahead and try script alert script first. Does script alert script work? Because script alert script is a little bit easier to kind of delineate where the script tags end. So I don't have to, or where the JavaScript exists. If I do image source, technically everything after on error should live inside of single or double quotes. So it says, hey, this is where all the JavaScript exists, right? So we do alert 34. Let's see how that looks. And just because it looks good here doesn't mean that it's going to execute in the way that we want. Let's go ahead and test this here just to make sure. We have that alert 34. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and try that payload. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create a new variable I that's going to be a new image. And what this is going to do is just going to create this new image object that is denoted by the variable I. And I'm going to make the source of I, so image source, is going to equal http ://10.10. Oh, what's my IP again? Did I grab it? Ifconfig ton0 16.82. 16.82. We'll clear this. We'll set up that netcat listener once again, and we'll use single quotes to kind of denote that this is a string, right? And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and try to append a session cookie. So what's going to happen is this image is set with it's the variable I is an image, and the source of this is going to be our attacker-controlled server plus the session token, or a session cookie at the end. So I'll do :443. And how this looks is we'll kind of look at this in the browser real quick, just so you can see. I think browser console is goated. Browser console is the way to always test your payloads, because you might not know, or you might try a payload and figure out, it'd be like, why is it not working? What's happening? And you want to know, especially with cross-site scripting, you want to make sure that the problem is not like, how do you know if the problem is your JavaScript syntax or the application server? You won't know. So make sure that your JavaScript syntax is correct first, because JavaScript is everybody's favorite / least favorite language. And then once you know that it's working within the browser console, then you could try to deliver it to a victim and make sure it's good. So, hey, Chaotic, good to see you. So what we'll do, first things first, is cookies are accessible via the document. So if I do document.cookie, it's going to show all the cookies. Now, I'm going to put a pin in this. Remind me to come back to this, Jex, because I don't want to. I'll get in the weeds too much if I come back to this.
No, it's all right. I have you. Don't worry.
So I got a pin. Yeah. So document.cookie is how we access cookies, right? And so what I want to do is I want to see if I can append the victim's cookie to this web call as it tries to fetch this image. I want it to append the cookies to the end of this fetch, right? So I'll do plus, and we'll do document.cookie. So what this will do is it'll send a request to http:/my attacker controlled server on port 443 and append the victim user's cookies. Like, that's going to be the whole goal of this whole thing. And so we'll go ahead and kill this. So what we'll do is we'll run this first. If I run this locally, does it work? Does this actually create this new image source, set it to the attacker controlled server, and append document.cookie? And it does. So I did to myself, and this works. So we'll clear that, set it up again. And so now what we'll do is we'll send it. We'll send it to the attacker controlled, or we'll send it to the actual target, and we'll see here that we have the payload actually present in the response, right? And so the problem is we have a netcat listener. So if I show this response in browser to test if this works, I'm technically going to miss if the admin actually browses to it. But I think that that's a price worth paying for. So what I'll do is I'll make dir HTTP test, cd HTTP test, and I'll set up a Python server. So that way, any web request that happens, or that any web request that's sent to my server on port 443, I'll be able to see, it won't terminate the connection. So with netcat, it terminates once I control C and I kill the netcat process. It'll terminate the connection, but netcat will only allow for one connection at a time. With the web server like this, it'll allow for multiple connections. So this is the payload that I use. If I right-click Show Response in Browser, copy, and see if this works. It might not work. We got to test it. So it did work. It worked for me, at least. This is my own payload. I can confirm that because INVZZ, that's me, TI, and then _ZFS. So this is me. So in theory, this is a way for us to confirm whether or not the reflected XSS payload would work. So at this point now, we just wait. Does this actually populate to an administrative panel where an admin browses to it, or does it not? And that can take some time. That might be something where we've already done so much JavaScript testing we might not see it, or how often does the victim user actually browse to this? But if our hypothesis is correct and administrators do investigate these pages and take a look at these pages, in theory, when they browse to this affected page, we'll see their browser will see this, load this JavaScript dynamically, and then it will execute and then result in us obtaining the session cookie. So we'll see. We'll see. We can also, because we are dealing with, like I said, script tags. Sometimes script tags don't always work. I could do something like this as well too. Image source equals, and I can use proper quotations around expected values between those key value pairs. So source equals A, and on error is going to equal, and then using double quotes because I already use single quotes here. Something like this, and I can kill the script. We could try something like this, see if that works. I could show the response in browser just to make sure that that actually still works here within my browser still. And it does work again. So, okay, so we have two different payloads that are living on the server. So hopefully hopefully the victim user does browse to it. If not, we'll have to reinvestigate and see. But this is a good way for us to test, okay, it looks like the applications, or like this request is actually being stored or saved here. So hopefully when it's populated to the victim user or the actual victim user's portal, we'll be able to see that. So we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, how are we doing?
Good.
Thoughts? Good pause spot.
Yeah, no, definitely. So
there it is.
Hey.
And
Nice.
so we have a new cookie. So this is a different cookie. You can tell there's two different ways we can tell the difference between our request and their request. One, our cookie's different. Ends in ZFS, ends in PH0. Secondly, the source IP. The source IP is from 10.129.16.127. So this is confirmed that this is persistent XSS, and the victim user browsed to the panel, and it resulted in that JavaScript because the application didn't handle that output correctly, it resulted in injected JavaScript execution. We have a new session token. If I go ahead and if I go to the actual storage on Firefox, change that value, and then refresh the page, there's a chance that we are admin. I mean, I would have to see if there's some type of admin panel, of course, but we have a new cookie now. We have a whole different cookie, and so we can go through that process. But we know this worked, and we know we were able to obtain that cookie because we got the cookie. So yeah.
And that was just a refresher. That was for a escalation from the reflected XSS, or is that?
So it's an instance of reflected and an instance of stored XSS.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if we go to, I think it's dashboard actually. Oh, I need to change my cookie back. Let's see. Let's go to application. But anyway, while I'm pulling this up, this isn't needed for the XSS side. Yeah, it's the wrong cookie. There we go. And so now if I go to dashboard, we can see we do have access to the admin panel. So
will there be a stream like this every week or a month? T-Sec guy, that's actually a good question because Garr is also doing their own streams. This is for It Takes a Village is just the stream that we've been doing monthly. Yeah. We would do it more often, but it takes a little time for me to like come up with the video editing and get time set up for everybody. And obviously Garr has a lot that he does in his own month, so I try to be conscientious of that. But yeah, we try to do this at the end of every month, or that's been the trend so far.
Yeah, we'll see as far as hopefully I'll start being able to stream more. I will say I didn't give a shout out to a couple people in chat. I appreciate it, man. I try. Chaotic, it's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I know I said hi earlier, but I just wanted to say hi again. Hopefully you're still here. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully see you again soon, man. It's been a while. Orbital Gun, great to see you. I don't know if y'all are coming out to Defcon, but would love to see you for sure. Yeah. Miss you too, man. It's been too long.
Yeah, this is a great group of people. Also, shout out to Pebble, who is currently
Pebble live?
Hacking away. Yeah, Pebble's live right now, and if in some way, shape, or form we're still going, and they're still going, definitely who we're rating. Normally it's Dinosaur, the Dinosaur Man, but I feel like Pebble's been crushing it recently, so
yeah,
well deserved
for sure. Last month, Sakai, I did a follow-up stream after we did Path Traversal. I did one the following Friday. This month is definitely not going to happen. It's been chaos, especially prepping for Defcon, a lot of like work and life stuff. It's going to be a little crazy. But yeah, I would like to. I definitely plan to do more streams. I know I've been saying that for years, but I will actually be doing guaranteed more streams for sure. But yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, I'll be at Defcon Orbital, so I'm excited to see you. It's always a good time. I'm excited to see you.
Yeah. And additionally, we are going to start changing up what we can do with the stream because I feel like we have points. We should start using them. That's on me, for real. But I'd like to get to a point where the points that you have can functionally turn into a way for you to redeem them for Hack the Box stuff, amongst other things. But yeah, if you've also go to his stream because it is really clean, and I need to pick your mind about that, but that's for a different time.
Yeah, for sure. No, we'll definitely touch base for sure. I think the streams are fun for sure. I love the music and stuff, and it's just a good vibe for sure. It's just nice to get out there, just to be out and about and getting some good hacking in for sure with the group. But that's what this stream is right now, so we're cooking. Yeah. And so, just to kind of quickly just recap what we did here is we did reflected XSS initially. Like this is reflected XSS, send the request containing our payload, returns our payload unescaped, resulting in malicious JavaScript execution that we've injected now. But this is only affecting ourselves, right? It's only affecting ourselves. And a traditional reflected XSS that could lead to true exploitation, I would have to make a victim user send this request. But unfortunately, making a victim user send a request with a specific header or with a specific header value is non-trivial. Like there's not an easy way to force a victim user to send a request with a specific header and it result in injected JavaScript execution. It's a lot easier if it's something like a post body or a query string parameter. It's a lot easier. But luckily, and lucky for us, any headers that we inject in populate to some administrative portal. And that administrative portal, when an administrator reviews it, it's saved to a database. And so it's an instance of persistent cross-site scripting as well, too. It's reflected and persistent XSS. So we have an instance of both. In theory, we have discovered both reflected and persistent or stored XSS. I would report both in a pen test. I would say reflected is, in theory, lower severity because exploitation is non-trivial, whereas persistent or stored XSS is high severity in this case because it specifically targets admins, doesn't require authentication to access, or to exploit, I should say, and it results in escalating privileges to admin. So it's at least a high severity for sure. But two different types of XSS in theory, and remediation, but remediation would be the same. And if we're at a good point, we could talk about remediation if we're feeling it. Should we?
I would be, yeah, no, I'm super down for that.
Cool.
Again, thank you for walking us through that. Also, just got like that all clipped up. So, love this method of doing this. This saved me so much time, man. I appreciate you. Also, huge shout out again to Emma for fixing. We are now back in science and technology. We're no longer podcasters.
Sick.
Thank you.
Nice. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm curious. Let me try something real quick off the cuff. Nothing crazy. Let me just do something real quick. Request in browser, an original session, copy, paste. Yeah, okay, cool.
Good.
All right. So, okay. I was wondering why it wasn't working, but now, so let's talk about remediation of cross-site scripting, okay? So remediation of cross-site scripting is pretty standard nowadays. There's a lot of things out the box, a lot of libraries you can leverage out the box that kind of handle user input and output sufficiently. There's everybody always talks about input validation. And I'm gonna be honest with you, input validation is great, but it's not always gonna save you. I think it's important if you're in an interview process for you to talk about two things. The most important, in my opinion, is output encoding. If you want the $1 million word that I always talk about, it's called context-aware output encoding. If you could say context-aware output encoding, it's like, whew, all right, you're cooking. You're doing some good work there. And the reason why context-aware output encoding is important is output encoding, what it does is it takes the user's payload, and when it's returned to another user, it's properly output encoded in a way that it's still displayed on the page, but it doesn't result in the browser or the client thinking that it's executable code. If I show this, if I do this, for example, if I do request in browser, and I look at this is an example of output encoding. This image source equals A is being displayed literally as is. Why is it now being displayed literally as is and not being displayed as an image or a broken image tag, right? Well, that's because it's being output encoded. It's not completely properly output encoded, but you'll see that what's happening here is I've leveraged some burp magic to do some automatic output encoding. It's only output encoding less thans, but this is what's called HTML entity encoding. So what it does is browsers are smart and they understand different types of encoding so they could show things to users. HTML entity encoding just takes less thans or certain special characters that if they weren't being output encoded might be treated as is. And it just encodes it in a way that the browser still understands to show it as a less than, but it won't be taken by the browser as executable code. So HTML entity encoding is one instance of output encoding that works great within the HTML context. And this is why context aware is important. If I HTML entity encode user input that's reflected in a different context, like in a JavaScript context, HTML entity encoding is not sufficient. You have to make sure that your output that's being encoded is encoded in a way that's aware of the context around it, so that way it couldn't be bypassed. It could be an attacker couldn't leverage different encoding techniques or different functions to bypass your encoding attempt. For example, if your output is encoded, if your output is reflected in existing JavaScript, I don't need less than and greater than. If I can just use double quote, escape out of like a JavaScript string, I can now inject a semicolon and do a whole new line of JavaScript. Semicolon or double quote semicolon alert 34. And now I have the exact same result, JavaScript execution, and your output encoding was insufficient. So that's why that output encoding has to be context aware. Now, in conjunction, also with output encoding, input validation would be great. If I have server-side input validation of a zip code, for example, in the US, zip codes are just numbers. It's all numeric. There's no reason for me to be able to put image source equals A into a zip code. And so that it makes the attack, the exploitability a lot harder for you to, if you were to have a combination of both output encoding and input validation. So in instances where you can have input validation that's strict, you should. I mean, there's no reason not to. That way it kind of prevents the ability for attackers to exploit something like XSS. But I think the most important remediation is going to be context-aware output encoding. Yeah, and of course you have other things too. But yeah.
I'm sitting here. I had that written down. I was like, context-aware output encoding. Remediation is actually a huge part of, again, like bug bounty. I think that there's a lot of really good bug bounty hunters who can possibly find something that they can exploit, but like also say that in the process of trying to remediate the bug, being able to show them not only the process of how you've exploited them, but being able to give them a really good detailed way to say, hey, this is how you could like fix this, and you can then go to your team, have them remediate it, and come back to me. It solves the bug quicker. It works better for both teams in triage and in for the product owner. You know, not a lot of the times I hear people talk about remediation, so I'm happy that you brought it up now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely key. I mean, of course, there's a lot of defense and depth strategies, which I think is actually perfect for us to dive into thing I didn't rabbit hole on. And so, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can make XSS a lot less impactful if your tech stack, if your application allows for it, because there's certain instances where some of this can't be implemented, right? And so, for example, one of the things that we saw, if we go back to, let's go back to this. If I go back to inspect and I go back to console and I do document.cookie, you'll see that, you see that I can't spell. You'll see that if I do document.cookie appropriately, sorry, I didn't mean to catch you mid-drink.
You're good.
If you do document.cookie, you'll see that the JavaScript has access. Goodness. The JavaScript has access to my cookies because when I type in document.cookie, JavaScript shows, all right, my cookie is admin and it's set to the value of this. Well, there's certain flags that you can set when you establish a session cookie. So if I go to, I'm starting to lag a little bit. If I go to storage, you can see that these cookies have a certain flags. We've talked about some of these flags in the past, same site, secure, HTTP only. These are security flags. Secure means that the cookie will only be sent by the browser if over secure connections like HTTPS. In this case, we're accessing it over HTTP, and so it's set to false. Another thing is HTTP only, which is a little confusing by name. But what happens is if HTTP only is set to true, like if I set this to true, for example, and I refresh the page, the cookie is now true. HTTP only is set to true. When I send that request, the cookie is sent by the browser, but if I go back to console and I do document.cookie, JavaScript can't see it. So HTTP only flag, what that does, it tells the browser, it's like, hey, if JavaScript is trying to access this cookie, it doesn't have access. It should not be able to access this. So when you set the session cookie, so if I go to burp search and I search for is admin and I search only in response headers, I can see that when this cookie is set, it is only set with a path. It's not set with any specific flags at all. Because if it was set, you could set here HTTP only equals true. And if they would have done that, then I wouldn't have been able to steal this administrator session token because the JavaScript would not have been able to access that token at all. I could still force the administrator to do certain things. There's other things I can do with XSS that's not limited to session hijacking, but this would make session hijacking much more difficult to exploit because I can't just force the victim user to send me their cookie because my JavaScript doesn't have access to their cookies. Does that make sense? Any thoughts, questions there? Cool.
I just realized that we were on an ad break.
Oh, dang. Oh, no worries. I was on a roll, though.
You were. I mean, that's definitely going in.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I feel like we knew that we were going to get through this one pretty quick.
I got a little bit more we could throw at if you're feeling
sweet.
it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you are curious about? Now is a great time to ask some of these questions because at this point in time, I think that everything that I was very curious about putting into our recap video is basically done. But if there's some really cool secret sauce that Garr throws in here that seems that we might need to add into it, I will also be aware of that. But I want to know what y'all thinking. Are you curious about anything? Is there something that you missed? Is there some context that you need? Also, stay until the end.
This will be fun.
because Emma, are we doing a giveaway today? I didn't think about this. I didn't ask. I'll have to wait for you to get back to me in private chat. We can. Okay. What? Okay. Well, that's a good thing. So if you do stay until the end, we are going to be doing a giveaway for some Hack the Box swag or something. I don't know. What do we got, Emma? I'm a little lost in the weeds right now because I have like 5 different windows up. Oh,
the sauce.
Okay, two yearly
Dang.
VIP passes or subscriptions. So sick.
That's fire.
That's good. That's good. It's pretty good.
So I just now at this moment thought of a really cool path that we could show if we're curious.
What's that? I mean,
So
yeah.
It's going to be an XSS to RCE.
Oh. Okay. No, I'm down for that.
All right, cool.
Yeah. There was a point in time when you were going through and showing the difference between the reflected and persistent, where I was just like, could I just keep setting up different servers on my? Okay, I know that's silly, and it's like really, it doesn't really matter, but I mean, like, I think it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, for sure. There's so much you could do for sure. And so I want to. There's 2 more things I want to talk about. One. All right. What if you have HTTP only on your cookies? What else can you do? I think it's important for especially bug hunters out there, but especially pen testers too. But for bug hunters out there that are like, I found XSS, I have an alert box. What else can I do? That's going to be the first part. And the second part is, let's say I have this instance of XSS where I can't see the output, but I want a bug bounty, and I don't want to just sit here and set up a netcat listener to the internet. How can I actually eventually catch something like this? And I'm going to show the exact same setup that the Tesla hacker used, as well as some of the other setups that are out there that other companies use as well too.
Nice. Who is the Tesla hacker? Who was it?
I don't remember. I don't want to.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, if you can pull it up, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. When was it? Was it this year?
No, it was a while ago. 2018, maybe.
2018. Okay.
Tesla.
I gotta Google Dirk this. 18.
Who was it? Yes, I think it's a Security Weekly one. Sam Curry.
Of course it's Sam. God, Sam, I know you're out there somewhere. He's one of the people that I'm excited to see at Defcon. Dude's a legend. Always has like the best like write-ups for the craziest things, man. I don't understand that.
Yeah, he's godlike, yeah.
Absolute legend. Wait, Neospring had a question. If you discover XSS, do you start digging into cores, misconfigs, or CSRF, session cookie theft, or token exposure from local storage? So
great question. Yeah, I mean that's thank you, Neospring, first of all, because that's literally where we're going next. So I appreciate that segue. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we can do it. This can be like an advanced section, like a more like, all right, what next? You know, what else can we do? And so that way, you know, if you wanted to keep it in the weeds or keep it in the weeds and keep it foundational, we can keep it there. If you want to add this and we have the time to add it, sick, you know?
No, definitely.
I'm surprised we're at an hour 13 already. That's crazy. We've been cooking. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about different instances of XSS where, let's talk about the first application we talked about a while ago was, what if I have a headless application and it makes calls to backend APIs and doesn't use traditional cookies? Instead, it uses session tokens like JWTs, for example, that are in local storage. It doesn't use a traditional session handling mechanism like cookies. It uses tokens. So what you could do instead is very similarly, let's go ahead and we'll simulate this. So I'll go to storage. I'll go to local storage and I'll create a token. We'll call it token. And we'll just say the value is EYJ, blah, 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 blah. Okay. This is going to be our token. Okay. So similarly to how we accessed the cross-site, the cookies, document.cookie. Right now we can't access document.cookie, right? Because document.cookie technically, we can access document.cookie, but it contains nothing because our session token or session cookies are all set with the appropriate security flags, HTTP only. Another thing that JavaScript can access is local storage. So local storage is a storage object. When I call local storage, it returns an entire object. So if I do something like alert local storage, that's not going to be great. It's just going to show this object. So what I need to do is I need to parse that object. So it's going to be local storage. And then within local storage, there's going to be keys and values. And so I know what my session token is saved at as because I set it myself. And when you're testing the application, you know what session tokens are going to look like because the application is going to set you with a session token when you make an account. And so you could do local storage and then just the name. Oh, no, that's not it. It's got to be no parens. It's just like this. This is an object. Yeah. And so, yeah. So instead, you would do this exact same payload that we did earlier, which was, where is it? Here. So instead of image source and then add document.cookie, you would do image source, all that, and then add local storage and then token. So it'd be like this. Exactly like that. That's exactly how it looks. So if I go ahead and send this request, I'll set up my listener again, show response in browser, copy, and I show this response to the browser. You can see that our attacker-controlled server gets our session token that was existing in local storage instead of in your cookie jar. Yeah. Okay. It's not the browser cookies, it's local storage. That's one thing I think it's important to know is if you're dealing with other types of session handling mechanisms, especially more modern that leverage backend APIs, you just use local storage and then in square brackets the name or the key of the identifier or the token that you want, right? That's the first part. Second part, and I remember this. I still remember this. I don't remember what year it was, but I remember doing a pen test and discovering cross-site scripting and also reporting cross-site request forgery. And I'm like, oh man, this whole thing is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. It's also vulnerable to cross-site request forgery because I could leverage. Oh, that's the victim user trying to send me their local storage token that doesn't exist. So it's undefined. Yeah. But anyway, sorry. I remember testing and reporting, oh, it's also vulnerable to CSRF. And I remember during the peer review process, they're like, Garr, if it's vulnerable to XSS, it's always vulnerable to CSRF. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, man. It's like, so think about it, right? So you leverage cross-site scripting, and they have a CSRF token. And the CSRF token is validated, and it's doing everything correctly. And the CSRF token is preventing a malicious user from creating a request that when a victim user browses to it will be sent with whatever parameters you want, right? But if you have cross-site scripting, it's code that runs within the context of the application. So XSS will always be able to grab a session token, or not session token. XSS will always be able to grab a CSRF token. XSS will always be able to bypass CSRF mechanisms, even same site, because the code or the request is always coming from the application because the JavaScript is running within the context of the application. So when that person explained it to me, I was like, oh, I still didn't get it. But eventually I got it. I was like, oh, so it's important for you to know. And even if you don't understand it right now, if you have XSS, you will always be able to defeat any cross-site request forgery protection mechanisms. And so you could leverage XSS to, instead of stealing a session token, you could leverage it to force a victim user to send a request using their session token. So what's going to happen, and whatever values you want. So we have a parameter. We have a request here, an administrative request that's vulnerable to RCE. Okay, it is technically vulnerable to RCE. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a payload that when the victim user browses to it, they will leverage their session token to send the request to dashboard containing a date parameter with a command injection payload that will return us a reverse shell. That's what's going to happen. So we're going to turn unauthenticated XSS to RCE. So I'm going to cook on this for a little bit, Jax. If you want to,
I queued it up.
Any questions like that? Yeah. Okay.
No. I'm good right now. I made sure to like document it. I was waiting.
Was it ref shell? Ref shells? Yeah, there we go. Cool.
Shells.
All right, so let's do this. I'm going to quickly cook. Man, I need to get a new GPU or something. My thing is stuttering. Let's do this. Let's grab this. So this is going to make it easier for me to see while we're cooking. So I'll do which Python 3. Okay, sweet. We got Python 3. And we have 1010. What's my IP again? Let's see. 1682. Did I just say 82? And that's okay. No, I'm good. Python 3 number 2. Let's copy this. Let's just make sure this works. So if I paste this here and I just netcat listener, just make sure that works just for everybody. Okay, I had a feeling it wouldn't work, so cool. Let's go ahead and URL decode. There should be no ampersands here. 1682 is us, right? If config ton 0. Yep. Okay. Clear. Do that again. Not that. This. Make sure that works. That's not working. Okay. Let's do this instead. We'll base 64. Try this. Echo. Boom. Pipe that to base 64 tac D and pipe that to bash and make sure there's space here. Let's make sure that's working. Send it. Cool. Okay. So that works. Okay. Just want to make sure it works. Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, just I guess let me know when we're off. Sorry about that.
Yeah. We're good. We're good to go.
Sick. All right. Cool. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a payload that sends this as a request. So there's two different ways. So we're going to create a payload that when the victim user browses to it, the administrative user browses to it, it's going to force their browser to send a request using their session token to dashboard with the command injection payload. So I'm going to set up a listener here. And what this is going to do is this is the exact parameter that we need. And so I'm going to have to build this. I think it might be easier if I wonder if I can do something like this. I'm really curious. Let's just see what this looks like. I want to leverage some JavaScript. Let me continue to cook a little bit because I'm kind of curious. I want to do a really cool one if we can.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
This.content document.forms 0. No, this.content document. Let's see, content documents. No. Is that not the? Let's see. Oh, that's because it's an iframe. Document.forms 0. Dot value or dot. Let's do date. Okay. Dot value. Oh, so wait, date doesn't exist. So what is this form then? Let's
select the date. It has no idea what the date is. Perfect
yeah,
application.
Yeah, let's do this instead. Not date. Let's do forms. Let's see if we can click the drop down to see what the forms are. Action. We have an action. Data set. This is form 0, right? Yeah, forms 0. Oh, I have to do it like this. There we go. Date. Okay, cool. And then dot value is going to be this value. So what we'll do is we'll set this to our payload, which is going to be really, really gross, but also beautiful at the same time. So that's going to do that. Okay, so this works. This works. So let's go ahead and sublime this real quick. Let's do a quick sublime. Subl fin.txt, sure. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some crazy JavaScript payload. So what this is going to do is I think how we'll do this is there any double quotes in here? No. Okay, cool. So it's going to do this. It's going to do image source equals A. Well, you know what? Let's iframe this. Let's iframe it. Iframe. We'll keep it like this. Iframe source is going to be / dashboard, and then on load equals this. And I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, because in an iframe it's a little bit different. We're going to have to do this.content document. Now I don't know if this is going to work, but if it does, it'd be really cool. So we're going to do this, and then we'll do this.content document.forms 0 .submit. So
wait. So an iframe, does an iframe allow you to embed another like web address into this, or
yeah? So if you want
another
let's
page or
actually
document,
mess around with this. Yeah, so let's mess around with this so we can
that's
actually see.
hilarious.
So if I do this, let's go here. So if I go, and remember, because this iframe exists within our target application, so we could leverage the iframe to access resources within this same application. So if I do iframe source equals / dashboard, and we'll do width equals 800, height equals 800. So we'll do something like this, and we'll kill the iframe. So let's do this. A little laggy. So we have the iframe. We'll show responsive browser. And let's go ahead and put it here. So I can actually see that there's the dashboard here, right? And so what's really cool is I could leverage this.content document.forms to access the form within the iframe. So what I'm doing is I'm accessing this form that's within the iframe and updating this date parameter to be the value of our reverse shell is what's happening here.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do this.content.document.forms 0 and call the submit function on it. So what this does, in theory, is if it works, let's see, I'm curious. I'm really curious to see if it works. Let's go ahead and send it. Oh man, I'm scared. Let's see. So here's the thing. If I browse to this as myself, in theory, it would work. So let's go ahead and see what happens real quick. There's a chance that we didn't do this correctly because it is an iframe, but let's see. No, okay, it didn't actually browse to it, but let's see. Because in theory, it should send a request. It's sending a lot of requests. Okay, we have to kill this. We have to kill because it's sending requests over and over again. So it did send post request to dashboard with the date, but it didn't actually give it the value that we expected. Like it's supposed to set the value to this.
The iframe changed the perspective there because you set it by 800 by 800. I saw that immediately. I didn't know if that had anything to do with like how you did that.
Oh, true. Yeah, let's see how this looks just to be on the safe side. I'm curious if maybe it was because of the way I formatted the doubles and single quotes because it's not actually sending that value at all. No, it's not. Okay, let's go ahead and kill it. Okay.
Goodbye.
All right, that's killed.
So long.
Right, so it's still not sending this date value appropriately. What it's doing is it's not seeing that the value of it should be this. Let's go ahead and let me just mess around with that real quick. We're on the administrator. Let's go ahead and do this. Dot value. Where is it? Document. Dot forms 0. Dot date. Dot value equals this. Let's do with double quotes. See if that works. Let's spell document correctly. Okay. So in theory, document.forms 0 date dot value. And so it's not setting it. It's still, is it resetting it? Is that why? Because it technically set it here. But then it doesn't save. Okay. There's another way we could do this that's a little bit messier that I don't necessarily like doing, but it might be required. You might have to do that.
Okay.
If I do this document, if I do this inline, in theory, it should, oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh no, I lost my mouse. Oh, I can't, there it is, cool. Okay, let's go back to console. I'm just curious to see if this works. Document.forms 0.submit. If I do that inline, okay, my mouse is lagging. I don't think it actually sets that value like I want. No, okay. There's one other way to do this. It's a little bit messier, and I think that might be the way we have to do it. Is just leverage the power of Burp Suite Pro. So we can leverage Burp Suite Pro to do this. Engagement tools generate CSRF POC. And what this does is it creates this POC to automatically submit. So what's going to happen is if I go options, it already has the auto submit. So what happens is it just creates this form. It creates a form that says, here's the form, here's the date, here's the value, and then just once you browse to this, automatically submit because the script will automatically submit it. So we would basically just inject this whole thing. We inject this whole thing into the header value. So we can just quickly do that real quick. We'll make sure it works, and I'll do a kind of a quick recap. I wanted to do some crazy things, but yeah.
Does that ever have to be obfuscated?
Yeah, you definitely could. It definitely could benefit from obfuscation for sure. That way, like, I would say it would have to be in certain instances where there's like a WAF or something like that in the way.
Okay. We're not worried about that right now.
But right now, for sure, yeah. I mean, especially if there's some type of WAF or like deny listing or blacklisting of certain characters, then yeah, we'd have to kind of obfuscate things in a certain way. But in this case, it's working as is, so we can just send it like this. So this, in theory, should work. Let's go ahead and give that a try. I'll move this up just so we can see it.
Okay.
I'll send this as the support ticket. And we'll do this. It's going to be a little messy, but we can give it a try.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and send it. So we'll show response in browser just so we can see if that works. And I'll actually bring this down a bit so we can see that immediately. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there we go. Boom. And so what we did is we just created a form that just auto submits when the victim user browses to it. And it looks just like this. So we can actually see what request was sent by the admin in theory. But this is what it would look like. It's that post request to dashboard. The date is set with the value of our reverse shell. And in theory, we could send that to the when we post that, it saves. Like you could see hello right here in the actual browser itself. And it's just empty afterwards because we created this form that just kind of lives on the page. And then the admin user goes and parses all of the administrative logs. And since it's a form that automatically submits, the browser would just automatically submit this with the administrative session token. And it results in us exploiting the RCE vulnerability that existed on that admin panel without us even obtaining the session token. It just forces the victim user to send that request. So in theory, it's XSS, and we're in theory performing cross-site request forgery, but the nature of the vulnerability is stored cross-site scripting. So yeah.
Fixate had
I
a
really
question.
want to do that.
No, that's hilarious. Also seeing the hacking attempt detected while you also have the reverse shell is hilarious as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, very helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, I
Fixate
appreciate the hacking attempt thing. Oh, you said Fixit had a question?
Yeah. So there we go.
So our form instead of the iframe using the existing one. Yeah, so I originally wanted to do the iframe one because an iframe one it's a little cleaner. Like I don't have to paste a whole form. I can just create a hidden iframe. In theory, I could do a hidden form too. But I like doing iframes just because it leverages the existing functionality of the page I can reference it by saying, here's a list of forms on the page. I go to index 0, which is that first form, fill in the input with whatever I want automatically, and then auto submit the form. I like that. But you could also just do it the way that we did it secondarily here, which is create a form using automation, like with Burp Professional, or there's some scripts you can use that kind of take a request and create a form from that too. And then when the victim user browses to it, because it's vulnerable to not just not just HTML injection, but cross-site scripting, then the JavaScript automatically will execute that form. So if you want to look at that one more time, what it looks like is, where is it? So we can see it.
Void champ, security mitigations for this. Would the context-aware output encoding still hold true for this as well? Just
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
In this specific case, yeah, great question. So void champs, first of all, I feel it's definitely a lot to take in, and the only reason that we're at this level right now is because we created this hypothetical scenario where you found cross-site scripting, and you're not able to get a session token, but you've confirmed that it's vulnerable to cross-site scripting. So you really want to escalate the privileges, or not privileges, escalate the severity for that bug bounty report. And so you have to remember with XSS, you could steal cookies if the cookie is set without the HTTP only flag. But in cases where it's set with that flag and it's more secure, what you have to do is you have to see what else can I make JavaScript do, or what else can I make a victim user do with JavaScript. And you can make them send any request with any data that you want. So basically exploit CSRF. So in this case, we picked the most impactful administrative functionality we could find, which was vulnerable to RCE. And we just leveraged XSS to exploit that RCE in theory from an unauthenticated perspective. So that's the only reason it got that crazy. But security mitigations, just like Jex said, context-aware output encoding would have prevented this, because if the less thans and greater thans were HTML entity encoded, the browser would have seen this whole thing as just less than form and not loaded a form. It would have just seen it as a string instead of it loading that form, loading the script tags, and then allowing for automatic submission of this form that we created. And so context-aware output encoding is always pretty much the go-to when it comes to remediation for something like this, for sure. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Good questions. It was a lot. Last thing I have to show, Jex, is just the frameworks that you can use when you have an instance like this where you don't get to see whether or not it pops, but you want to you don't want to just sit here with a netcat listener for the next 5 days of your engagement. You want to just set up a front gun server that catches all this. Should we hit that now?
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing is in instances where you have like a blind XSS, for example, where your payload lives on another server and a victim user has to browse to it, but maybe it's an admin user or it's a user that's on a whole different application you don't necessarily know, but you want to inject these payloads. You can use the Tesla hacker used XSS Hunter. This is something that technically it has been deprecated in a sense because it was something that was hosted on XSS Hunter's websites, and it was never recommended to use shadow IT or IT you don't have control over. So you can actually deploy it yourself. So XSS Hunter was the one they use. Whenever I'm on engagements, I've used BXSS. It works similar as well too. And of course, the old school tried and true is Beef, Browser Exploitation Framework. You basically can set up, yeah, it's a good one. You can set up a front gun server and have it set up so that way it can host these services. And then you could point, your payloads can include something like this, like where is it, scroll down? Like a script source equals whatever. And so your attacker controlled server that you would host on any cloud infrastructure or however you want to do it. And it has different modules or routes in this case that kind of, when you point the victim user to it, it'll do things from pop an alert box, which is not what you want, but capture like document object model information or view different HTTP interactions that are happening. Beef will fingerprint the entirety of the browser and allow for you to do dynamic modules. And XSS Hunter will do the same thing, and they have like screenshots that it automatically catches and stuff like that. So pick your poison. Definitely do your research to see what you want to use. But there's a lot of different the servers you could spin up externally to kind of automatically, first of all, catch that request. Because if you think about it, if you plant, let's say, script source equals your attacker controlled server, and you see the request being sent to your server, there's a good chance that that came from one of your payloads. You can add some different identifiers like query string, question mark, hack the box, right? Or question mark, whatever your target is, right? So you know where it came from. And that way you'll be able to kind of triage and catalog where your XSS is actually triggering from. Because you'll have source IP, but that might not be enough. You might not be able to look up at that source IP and say, okay, where's this coming from? And so you'll be able to do your own monitoring. But it's just a good way to just kind of spin this up, have it live on some type of external infrastructure. So that way it just kind of catches your payloads, you know?
That's super helpful. Yeah. I think that like people should try to go out and utilize these frameworks a little bit more because it gets you a bit deeper into these processes too. I will probably try out XSS Hunter again. Shout out Sam Curry for
that's super cool.
The fun Tesla XSS example for today. But also, yeah, man, thank you for driving through the majority of that. Again,
Yeah,
like
sure.
the later part of this was a bit more advanced. The beginning of it, for those who might be joining now or who have been here for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, was more of the open explanation into the beginning. I know it says foundational web hacking, but this is also really good stuff to know too. You're welcome to get ahead, and you should use that as your ammunition. Ads.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. I have one more point that I want to add to that for sure once we get back from the ad break.
Yeah. And speaking of which, probably after the ad break, gonna let people know that we can run it just so we have the free time to sort of very good refreshers. Oh, I forget that Ani's paid for a sub, so thank you, and you would be here. I also have after this, I'm going to take my lunch and I'm going to fight Ani in Tekken. So,
oh, nice. Dang, Tekken. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Are you looking forward to any other of those new fighters that are coming out? Like, there's that Marvel one that looks pretty sick. 2XKO looks good.
2XKO definitely looks good.
Yeah.
I've
heard it feels slow, so I'm kind of worried, but I want to get my hands on it and see. But yeah,
I've been hearing a lot about the Marvel games that are coming out too. I'm here or there about it. I'm still like trying to rank up through Tekken, and I do need to play like more. I don't know,
so sick.
Like 2Ds. But yeah, since we are back, hello.
Yes. No. So I have one thing to add to what Jex was saying. Yes, there was a lot of advanced, quote unquote, advanced stuff at the end, right? But remember, the only reason that we kind of got to that point was because we discovered XSS, and we really wanted to take exploitation to the top level so we could prove impact to the customer, to the client, to the person running the program. And especially for those that are new into pen testing, the most important part is discovery. If you can discover XSS and you have trouble exploiting, it's okay. That's what your peers are for, like other colleagues. You can bounce ideas off people. You have hopefully a good team you're working with and kind of help kind of guide you or work with you to kind of help beef up that exploitability. And so, I mean, it's always a process, especially like I remember when I was first starting hacking and I would find XSS. I'm like, man, how do I, like the cookie's not there. I can't access the cookie. What else can I do? And so I leaned heavily. Like I stood on the shoulders of giants a majority of my career, and that stuff starts to stick. And so leveraging mentorship, leveraging your team is really what's going to help you grow over time, but you need to be able to discover. I think a good hacker at the beginning and someone who I want to hire, especially like out the gate, is somebody who has that passion for learning and understands and can drive that, but also who has a pretty solid, at least discovery methodology that we could work on. And so the most important thing is if you can get that initial proof of JavaScript execution, all this extra stuff, it's just kind of showing you what else is possibly out there and what else you could possibly achieve with XSS. But the most important thing is understanding the differences and really being able to kind of leverage those instances where your input's reflected to see, okay, can I get something to pop? Can I get print function to be called? Can I get any JavaScript? And if you can, that is a perfect spot to be really at anywhere in your career. And then exploitation, sometimes I'm still calling some XSS gurus and being like, yo, what can I do here? You know what I mean? What's happening here? Because I definitely don't have all the answers, but I just want to show you some of the stuff that's possible out there for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Fix it. Thank you so much for the gifted sub or the sub for 2 months.
Oh, I
tier 1 sub. I appreciate you. We can't hear anything. That's the difference. Is like normally you hear all the alarm bells go off, but yeah, Garr, thank you so much for like that entire rundown from like the foundations to really. I'm going to hone in a little bit on the escalation part because that's it, and the remediation. Man, this is going to be a really sick recap video. I need to been trying to slowly condense them to shorter and shorter videos, but it's just been so rad like going through this today, and I think that I'm going to have to go through it maybe one more time to like fully understand, because I'm sitting over here trying to mark timestamps and interact with chat and everything. But like that was sick, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Of course, any questions anybody has, anybody in the chat, I'm always down to chop it up, especially like I don't have all the answers, but I'll work to find them for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I'm gonna wait maybe 5 minutes. We're about to do a giveaway for everybody in chat. We're gonna be playing marbles. So if you know anybody, any friends, family, whatever, people in other chats, bring them here. So at least that you have maybe another chance to opportunity to win a VIP plus subscription for a year on HTB Labs.
Huge.
Yeah.
Thanks
for joining us, Neospring. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Neospring. Thanks, Void, of course. I don't think I probably won't stream until after Defcon again, but either way, I appreciate y'all. I try to stream on my channel when I can. I can't even spell appreciate. Goodness.
Wait, hold
on. There, Garr_7 if you want to check me out for sure.
I got to double check with Emma. Emma, is it VIP or VIP plus? I forget sometimes. I thought it was. Yeah, it's VIP plus. Cool.
Plus, yeah.
Cool. All right. And I'm going to go in there, and if I win Emma, definitely let's double it. I can hand it off to somebody else.
Nice. Damn. I love it.
And then after this, we can bring everybody over to Pebble, which I've been meaning to do. If he drops before, I'm going to be so mad, dude.
There's no way. He's got to go the distance. One thing to throw out there, though, just a heads up for what's it called? For those two trying to enter the giveaway, has to be on Twitch. You have to go to Twitch.
Yeah. Everybody, I forget that. Thank you. Everybody on YouTube, switch over to Twitch if you don't have it. We have to. That's the one downside. I really want to get people over from YouTube to Twitch when these happens. We'll have to find a way to do it.
Epsilon, good to see you, Epsilon. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. We're at the end, but hopefully
right at the
you can
end,
catch the replay for sure. got to dive into some pretty good XSS, so it was good. It's good to see you.
Exclamation point play to join in on the drop.
Yeah, if you're over on YouTube, hop over to Twitch if you can. We don't favor either platform, but it's one of those things where it makes it integrates a certain way, and so
it's just a lot easier.
Yeah. Nice fix that. I love it.
Yeah. Dragonov, thank you for joining us.
Void. Oh, you got it.
Yep. How much time we got on the clock?
Oh, we still haven't started. We're good. We're
Okay, cool.
letting people kind of jump in here.
Yeah. Give some
Yeah,
people
marbles do be making
time.
lurkers out for sure, which is nice. I do like that about marbles. It kind of makes it happen. You know.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I see some of the people moving over from YouTube. The watching now has shifted a little bit. That's good. If you're here from YouTube, let us know.
Oh, no worries, Epsilon. It's good to take a break from the phone and stuff like that every now and then. But we appreciate you stopping by for sure.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready for the giveaway, is anybody can win. Boy, doesn't
No,
have to be
yeah,
subscribed.
not only subscribers. Yeah, you're good.
Anybody hacker summer camping? Now that we have a little bit more in the chat, anybody coming out for the hacker summer
Who's
camp
going?
in Vegas? Defcon, Black Hat, B-sides, Evo.
Evo's
the weekend before, dude.
Ah.
At the convention center, to the exact same the West Hall.
Yeah, when I was working at HackerOne, they would always have the H15, 702 right before.
Oh.
So it was like H1 702 and then Evo. And so I'd always want to go because I'd see everybody in the same place as us.
Yeah, at the
right.
esports, the Luxor, I think, right? Yeah.
Yep. All right.
It was
here
always
we
tough
go.
because we want to do stuff for Evo at the same time. But anyway, all right.
Yeah, true.
Let's get it.
I wonder if they're going to pull the room search stuff again. I really do not want them to. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I'll have my clothes. Oh well. No, Ani, rip.
Oh,
Ani.
Excited for you. Enjoy the con. It's a great time. Absorb as much as you can, of course, and just enjoy it. Enjoy it for sure. There's so much out there, and if you're with a group and you find yourself really digging something, you can always meet your group later. You don't want to miss out on something that you really enjoy. So that's what I always recommend. Who did somebody name drop somebody earlier? What was it? Dragon
I know.
mentioned YouTube's. Yes, TBD.
Oh yeah, the live stream. Yeah, for everybody who's here, we are doing a live stream live from Defcon. Whether or not it's going to look as clean as it does here does not matter. We are just there for the curing of all FOMO for our homies who cannot make it out.
Yep. Oh, Hex Wraith. 0x Hex Wraith is the first to cross.
There are 3 new names in here I have not seen before. Welcome.
Elioma.
Nice.
GG's.
So the top 2 getting them prizes. Hex Wraith, Elioma.
Nice, congrats.
Be sure to reach out to our account, the Hack the Box account, and we will get back to you with those prizes. And to everybody else who joined it, look at me rolling in real late. Am I last? Hell yeah.
Nice. GG's,
wow.
Dude. Nice.
Righteous. Wait, what? Oh, wait, what? Yeah, surprised that you won. Good job.
Yeah, it's you. Yeah, you did it. You won. Congrats.
Hex Wraith and Elioma, you got it. You did it.
Yes.
Reverse winning, absolute reverse winning.
Mm-hmm.
We should Lash should get a prize too. I've decided.
That's on you. I can't make those executive decisions.
Yeah. Okay. So again, unless you have some last words of wisdom, Garr, what I think that we should do, Emma, after is bring us over to Pebble 3's stream.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it. They need that raid.
Yeah, Pebble's been cooking for sure. I can't think of anything else. I appreciate y'all. I think from an XSS perspective, we covered a good amount today. Yeah. I think it's gonna be a fun video for sure to check out. Of course, any questions you could always hit one of us up. I'm usually on Discord. Lately, it's been kind of hard, but you can always hit me up on Discord. Feel free to reach out. And yeah, I'm just always happy to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity, Jax. Definitely. I'm gonna
be sure to check out the recaps on our YouTube channel. We've been adding those over there. That's all. I can't wait to see you at Defcon, Garr. I can't wait to host this live. But
same.
All right, let's go surprise Pebble with some amazing chatters and hackers.
Yep, let's go ahead and show Pebble some love. Definitely blow up his chat. And yeah. We're already gone.